How's it going, man?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to talk to you.
You just mentioned that you're heading to Nashville, right?
Yeah, well, at the current state of, well, for the past, I guess, for the past 5 or 6 years, I've been bi-coastal. I'm from New York, from Long Island, and so I've been in New York in this house where I built a studio on Long Island, and I have had a place in Santa Monica for, all the work that was in LA, but you know, both of these locations have pretty much died out, and it's just it's gotten to the point now where the entire business is pretty much in Nashville, vacationing in Florida. So yeah, I'm heading down there, and we're just taking care of some logistical stuff with my girlfriend's family. So we're gonna do a month in Jersey where I'm gonna have to bring my studio, set it up in a house we have going on there, and then hitting Nashville. But I believe that is where I will stay for a while, because I mean, everything seems to have relocated there, man. Everything. It's great. Hip hop. Oh, Megadeth rehearses there now. It's like crazy. And the studios everywhere. So 72 studios per square mile or something like that. I think there are 2 or 3 remaining commercial studios left in Manhattan. And Los Angeles is, I don't use the word literally like a millennial, but literally The Walking Dead. It's, when I lived in Hollywood, it was like zombies then, pre-COVID. Now they've legalized the tents in front of the businesses on Hollywood. Like, you can just set up a tent in front of, if you bought a house, you could just put a tent in front. And they've also closed most of the businesses. So it's just the wasteland, man.
Yeah, I mean,
very tragic.
When people think of Nashville, they typically, or even me, I used to think of country.
It was country. AAA, AC, adult contemporary. Actually, the biggest albums on the planet have been coming out of Nashville for our lifetime. The country music, Christian music. I'm not Christian, but I'll write a Christian song if gets me another one of these. But country music's always been top selling, and it's not just that anymore. It's become a place where people can actually, you can operate with some freedom. You don't, there's the government's not literally, like, I was walking into a vocal booth and was asked about a mask. That actually happened to me. Think of it. I don't know that they expected me to keep it on while I was singing, but as I'm walking into a room alone to sit, the only purpose of which is to sing into a microphone, the assistant had to advise me I needed my mask.
Speaking about masks, that obviously we were told for a long time that masks stop the spread.
Yeah.
But now what they're saying is that cloth masks do very little.
Yeah.
Stop the spread.
It turns out, I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that had sort of tracked the timeline. There were some documents and there was some video footage of Fauci and his whole crew saying these things in the beginning, in the very beginning. And then there was, there's all kinds of stuff coming out now that we've known that, for a while, I think, right? Just like, you're just not allowed to say it, I guess.
Well, absolutely. Well,
did you see what England just did?
I did.
And
yeah.
Starbucks.
Yeah. Well, see, in the beginning, cloth masks, which were really used for surgical masks for surgeons,
right?
They were never meant to prevent viral transmission. So when those cloth masks that you see a surgeon uses, it's really to prevent spit and blood and more large particles.
Right.
So that's what these large masks were for, are these cloth masks. Now the N95 masks were actually, were more built to prevent, at least, reduce the viral load and viral transmission. Even those N95 masks.
Which one were those? Those are the more a little bit more predator looking pointy.
Yes.
Yeah, the tiered.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to imagine that a viral it would be smaller than. I mean, these masks, you can breathe through them. You can,
Right.
You can,
Yeah. The problem with studies is that
it's a hairnet.
And the problem with studies is that, there's so much data and information that it's just tough to come to a firm conclusion in saying, well, masks work. I mean, listen, I'm not
Worth a
against
shot.
I'm not against mask wearing, but I think that has to be adjusted over time. Like, okay, we tried this in the beginning. Okay. Obviously these are the results. Results just didn't, prove to be that great. Let's make some adjustments. So I don't think everyone during this whole time, adjustments were never made. It was like a one size fits all.
Yep. And in place of adjustment, or I mean, it really, honestly, masks, vaccine, and I'm be very clear, I'm not anti-vax. I'm according to my mom, I've had them all, but I'm not anti any vaccine. But my mom's had health conditions. My dad's 70. I told him, like, go. When it came out, go. You should definitely you guys should do that. Masks, it should always be a choice, and it wasn't left to being a choice, because at the end of the day, you're protecting yourself. So, you're good. You have your mask on, you're good. I'll worry about myself. It just, logic seems to have gone out the window. Nobody looked at the data. Well, we did look at the data, and then in a string of events that's been going on, being told that what's right in front of our face isn't what it is. And, people, there's the echo chamber thing where people, watch their channel. They only hear what, like Bill Burr says, they go to imright.com and they Google themselves right. So people on Fox are going to hear a right-wing perspective. CNN, they're going to hear lies, left-wing perspective. So nobody's ever getting the alternating, but you can only do that for so long. At some point, somebody once said, the people are stupid, the person is smart. When a mass of people get hysterical, and we end up in a situation like we were in. But eventually people are going to start being like, you know what? It can't be good for a 5-year-old not to have developmental cues from an adult, because that's, children develop taking facial cues from adults. It helps them build empathy. It helps them. And I'm not a doctor or,
Well, did you hear
professional.
about how the people in Virginia are suing the new governor?
Yeah.
Because he lifted the mask mandate in schools. So basically the parents are suing him.
Parents or school board?
They're suing him because the government isn't telling them what to do.
Yeah, that is terrifying. That really is. I mean, and let me tell you something, man. That happened fast. I thought we had I don't know. I kind of thought it would take a little bit longer before we all fell asleep next to the bean pod. It happened, and I've been standing strong. And my parents.
Well, Mike, imagine this. And look at the simple scenario. Imagine someone saying to you, "I'm going to give you a choice," and instead of you saying, "Okay, thank you for the choice," you say, "You know what? I don't want a choice. I want you to tell me what to do."
It's insane. I mean, it's maybe, I mean, listen, nothing surprises me there. I would imagine that there are those people out there. I would have guessed it would have been a micro fraction. It's a large amount. It's hysteria, but because they're only getting panic news, which is just turning out to be, I mean, the president, not to get too political, but the president gave a 2-hour, I guess, if you want to call it a speech yesterday, and they went through it point by point, and it was, I mean, not one single thing that he said was correct or was in touch with the actual data that Israel just released, and they're the most vaccinated place on the planet, and they just actually issued an apology officially to the children of their country for closing the schools, because essentially now the consensus is that Omicron is what is going to make it endemic. I'm a guitar player using words like this.
Well, no,
but
and what's it? No, totally. And what's also too, I mean, America used to actually lead in science, and now we follow others in science. I mean, people don't realize this, but when China, when we first discovered, COVID-19 coming from China, China was the one that invented that.
What do you mean? It came from a turtle.
Right.
Nothing.
But it was China that invented those like draconian lockdowns.
Of course.
And so we're like, well, you know what? Let's do what China did. Let's lock up the citizens for a year and a half. Let's close parks. We'll close mountains. We'll close, like, you can't even go swimming. In New Jersey, they actually closed the ocean.
Yep. They did that in California too.
They closed the Atlantic Ocean.
And they enforced it.
They enforced it.
People on boogie boards, you're alone.
But what health strategy? Has that ever made in the history of humankind where they closed the Atlantic Ocean?
Yeah, I mean, that's in line with a lot of. I mean, I feel like there's been, I would say 90% of the things that have been invoked by our leaders have been along that line of, I sit back and I start to wonder if I'm crazy. I'm sitting back looking. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be smarter than the politicians. They're supposed to be.
There is a little pond where I live. There is a little pond that is owned by the park system. It's a small pond, and it has a small wooden ramp. Maybe it's like, I don't know, it only fits one person. And what people do is they stand on this wooden ramp. I only see someone there once in a while, and they fish off of it.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what? During like the first initial 7 months of the pandemic, the park system put literally, it was about maybe a foot of yellow tape over the wooden ramp.
Yeah, they love that fucking yellow tape.
Over the wooden ramp. In the middle of nowhere. Someone actually drove up, got in the car, put two beams in like the dirt, and a 10-inch yellow ramp. 10-inch yellow ribbon saying, "Do not enter."
Yeah.
I mean,
that was somebody's job.
When I saw that, that's when I realized,
jumped the shark.
Guys are crazy.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I mean, with the emails leaking, you watch the, I don't know, I could get so frustrated. You watch these guys, literally Gavin Newsom, literally get off stage reprimanding us, and then that night is at the French Laundry, or his children kept going to school. The governor of California, when the schools closed in California, his kids kept going, and his winery that he owns stayed open. So his workers that pick his grapes and make his business run were essential workers to keep his vineyard open. But so it's just the biggest bunch of hypocrisy, and it's really, really disturbing how willing and blatant it's become. And how do I put this? The toll they're willing to extract from us, like what you feel like they'd put a bullet in your head if it got them a couple of extra votes. Now, it really is not about. I've never felt less represented, and that's not even a partisan thing. Do you feel like that they would, your vote, have you been given any chance to vote on whether or not you want to disclose your medical record to a hostess at a restaurant so you can sit down and have a meal. Whether you're not supposed to have to disclose your medical. You're not supposed to be forced. I believe the Hippocratic Oath, one of the top oaths they take in that is that they're not allowed to force medicine upon people. I'm assuming unless it's court ordered or something like that. It all doesn't wash. It feels very authoritarian.
It does. And you know, Mike, this is all especially interesting coming from you. I mean, you know,
well, we all
right. And you're a great session guitar player.
Thank you, sir.
You know, and let me ask you this. I mean,
old answer.
Let me ask you this. I mean, when you were discovered by LL Cool J, I mean, you literally kind of chased him down in a way and submitted him a demo tape. Is that right?
Sort of, yeah. Do you want the little bit longer version or not?
Yeah,
I'll give you the sort of. Well, I was working at Louis Manhasset restaurant. I'm from Manhasset, Long Island. It's a town on North Shore of Long Island. Actually, it's part of it was where Daisy Buchanan lived in Great Gatsby. It's you know, the Gold Coast, Wall Street type people. So I worked in this. I was a waiter because, you know, I wanted to be in the music business. When you declare that, they hand you an apron for the next 10 years. Anyway, all the bosses, it was a very wealthy town, and all the bosses would come home to this little coffee shop, and everybody knew everybody. So I ended up waiting first on a gentleman named Neil Gillis, who was really the conduit to all of this for me, he was the senior vice president of Warner Chappell Music, which is the publishing arm of Warner Music Group. And we had discussed going to the same college, and we hit it off. He's, you know, 10, 15 years older than me. He was very established, super intelligent, amazing guy. I still, to this day, I wish I stayed in better contact. He actually shot me an email about a month ago, which made me feel good because he was a good guy. And I feel like I don't ever get to shout him out. So thank you, Neil. So he gave me an internship. Long story short, there was a dude that used to come up to the studio named BD, the singer, rapper, and he was looking for a roommate. I was also looking for a roommate, and we moved in together. Barely saw each other for 4 months. You know, we were broke kids, whatever. He had one thing to his name. He had a camera, a Canon 5D camera to his name, and he cherished this thing. And I would, you know, I'd come home from Warner and I'd play my guitar, play the piano, you know, sing, do whatever I did all night. And about 4 months into it, he came down with this big bag, and he, like I said, we were friends. Obviously, we lived together, but we really didn't see each other. We were both working different schedules. And he's like, "Listen, man, I've been listening to you play for 4 months." He opened the bag. He's like, "I sold my camera. I got you this." He pulled out an old see-through Mac G4 dual core, like the old Mac. An M-Box 1, for anyone that knows what that is. That's like the oldest version of the interface I was describing to you. And a Fuji CD. I'd never listened. I have Slash, Ozzy, Zakk Wylde, Alice in Chains tattoos. I'd never listened to hip hop. He hands me Fuji's the score. He goes, "Make me 10 beats like this, and we'll have a record deal in a month. I promise you." And I was like, I listened to it, and of course, it was freaking an amazing album. So 1 month later, we had a demo CD, and we loved, you know, we were just banging the songs out. I would do the music, he would come down sing. And my closest friend, David Holiday, who is actually, he's around here somewhere, but I think he's I don't know, taking advantage of our laundry machine, doing laundry. But he's one of my closest friend for many years, worked at that restaurant, Louis Manhasset also. And LL Cool J lived in Manhasset, you know, so we all grew up around in the same area. But his family would come in, he wouldn't come in a lot. That time he came in, and without telling me, Dave runs up, and another thing we never let him forget is "Excuse me, Mr. Cool J." Dave at that point is like 32 years old, calling a grown man Mr. Cool J. His name's Todd. LL's name's Todd. He goes by Todd. But a great guy, by the way, like really salt of the earth, really super solid dude. But anyway, he gives him, he's like, "My friend would kill me if he knew I gave this to you, but you know, yada yada. And Louise had these big pane glass. I'm just gonna put this down because this microphone. Is that cool?
Sure.
It's just the John Petrucci man. Louise had these big pane glass windows, and right out front you could see LL's white Bentley. And I had, you know, he's a big dude. He's like my size. He's like 6'3", 6'4", 260. Everywhere there's fat and ugly on me, there's muscle and handsome on him. He was a big, good looking dude. And so everyone, you know, he's leaving. Everyone's starstruck. He sits out in his car out front for like 25 minutes. And we're like, what the hell is he doing? He's bobbing his head. Next thing you know, the phone rings, and that my friend Dave Holiday, same guy that gave him the CD, which I still didn't know, picks up the phone. Louis Van Hassett, and he goes, "That's him right there." And he's pointing across the restaurant at me. He goes, "The big guy right there. That's him." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, you know, my life up to that point, I'm running out the back door. That's not a good sign. But it turned out LL had listened to the demo in his car, called the restaurant from outside from in the Bentley, like we could see him on the phone, and asked, he's like, which one of these guys did that? And that's what Dave was saying. It was him right there. So cut to, I think it was about 2 weeks later, on April 22nd, 2008, he signed, he was still with Def Jam for his last album. So he signed me to he had an imprint, which was called Platinum Harvest. And he signed me originally as a producer, and the band was called 13. It was BD and myself. I played all the instruments, and BD sang. So he signed us as a band with the intention of developing us as artists and also having me produce. Really what they call me as a producer, but that term is sort of very vague these days, you know. But
so you were okay. So you
so LL then put us into Wyclef John's studio, which was just like an amazing turn of events, because we were recording the music that was influenced a month before. BD kept his promise. We got a deal in a month. He signed us. And the only hip hop I'd ever heard was Fugees, and that's Wyclef. And we're sitting there re-recording the songs we did in the basement at Wyclef's studio with Wyclef sitting next to me. You know, it's like surreal. And it got to, you know, I have I always say some of the best insight I got on life and the business, and just, man, what a interesting, deep, smart, talented, really smart guy Wyclef Jean is. Yeah, he speaks 7 languages because he has to better me. But that he's a brilliant classical pianist. He sings, raps, guitar. I mean, ran for president of Haiti. Anyway, long story short, came time where we were wrapping the album. We needed to. He was going to shop us to the next level. We were getting a ton of interest from Columbia, from Def Jam. Yeah, everybody wanted, because it was not only backed by LL, but it was it was good stuff. And so we needed a band, because I played everything and BD sang. So and it was going so great. We auditioned. We found DJ Crossfader, who was Estelle's old DJ, who's maybe one of the greatest guys I ever met. I'm still friends with him to this day. Amazing DJ. Brady Watt, who actually I hooked up with DJ Premier, which comes later down the road. And I know I keep saying this, but he's probably the best bass player I've ever seen in my life. Brady, he went to Berkeley. He looked kind of like a shrunken Conan O'Brien. He's gonna kill me, but he's one brilliant bass player. And the drummer, I can't remember. It was a girl drummer. I can't remember her name exactly. She was nothing special, but it was instantly they came in and wanted publishing, which is, you know, basically, for your listeners who might or might not know, you know, when you write a song, there's 2 sides of it. There's the album sales, you know, the band can share that, whatever your record deal, however that's structured, but the intellectual property is the intellectual property generally. In some fields like hip hop, there's a million writers, but, you know, I sat down alone in the basement, played all the drums, the bass guitar, piano, and BD wrote the lyrics and sang the words. And then 6 months after that, people are going to come in and say they want an equal share of the writing credit. So it just ate us from the inside out. that project was called 13, which is how I got Mike 13, because everyone stored me in their phone as Mike from 13. And it ate us apart. And the band eventually fell apart. People left the label. LL actually, because he's the hardest working guy, he just at that time landed NCIS Los Angeles, which he's still on and is doing amazing. And this is a guy who won a Grammy in '94. He was a big star already. I mean, he's skyrocketed. He's astronomical.
So Mike,
he's household name now.
So Mike, so basically, LL signed you as a producer and also as a band. Mm-hmm. I remember you mentioned before that the album never really came out because
I have the stuff,
right, but because it kind of fell apart because arguments over bullcrap like publishing and stuff like that, right?
Egos.
Yeah, and
I might have slept with the female drummer.
Okay, so
for 3 years.
But you know what? I mean, but still, I mean, I'm sure when LL signed you, I mean, how old were you then? How old?
Gosh, man. Well, let's see. I'm 19 now, so
okay. So you were 5.
No, I think I was I don't know. I was like 20 something. 20.
Okay.
I think I remember saying, no, you know what? I was 30 because he goes, Mike, how old are you? I go 30. He goes, 28. I was like, no, Al, I'm 30. He goes, 28. I was like, I'm 30. He goes, you're 28. I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's not uncommon for.
No,
it's not uncommon.
Goes, yeah, BD, I love BD to death. My writing partner. He came up different than me. I came up. I mean, this guy's got great heart, writing, chemistry. Like I have so much remorse for the fact that we don't write together anymore. He's just not interested in the business anymore, and I get it, man. But we just have such good chemistry.
Mike, so the album never came out before. So the album never came out, but what you did is you ended up working with other rappers.
Well, I stayed on with LL, and I was composing then for his show. He would have me doing music for NCIS LA, producing, he had me working when he could, but he's busy. He just got landed a starring role. So what we went out and I played a stadium, Petco Park, where the Padres play. That was my first stadium I ever played. So he brought me out and I played that with him, and it was amazing. Backstage, it was a CBS award show of some sort. And backstage, I met Pauley Perrette, who plays the lab girl Abby on NCIS, the hot goth chick with the pigtails in the lab. Like I said last time, because that's what every scientist looks like. And
I miss the goth scene.
Yeah, goth girls are hot, man. She was she was that person, that character, warm, sweet. So she actually, to paraphrase it, we hung out at we exchanged numbers on the spot, hit it off right away. She's a musician, also very talented. Long story short, she sent me a shitload of money. She moved me out to LA to produce her album, and we hung out and just became very, very close for about 8 months, but to a year. We really got close, and we never got through the album, but it became a sort of I think it was like a battle between the NCISs, because she was on the regular over me, I guess, a little bit. And it just got to the point where I was doing so well. They were still dealing with the other band members and their contract. We were just such a headache for him. We all just left. So amicably, because like I said, I have nothing but respect for LL Cool J. He's a man amongst men. But you mentioned that you next kind of ran into DJ Premier. Yeah, well, through the same diner. Met a guy named David Lotwin who
was this a popular diner, by the way? It seems like you met everyone. It's
16 tables in it's called Louis Manhasset. It's been there since 1963. Louis Manhasset restaurant. It's the best diner. It's this really, it's where I'm from. Like, it's where we all grew up. It's this really tiny, the only, I don't know, Peach Pit from 90210 of a very, very wealthy town where all the bosses come home to. And then that's where you go to eat. You go get a burger at Louis, you get a steak, and the food was actually exceptional. the Greek guys, but so
Wow.
I could tell
so
you stories.
they must
for
make a
different
really good
podcasts.
hamburger. They must make a really good hamburger
It was
there.
just, yeah. Plus, it was the spot. So I saw, it was just a spot to go. It was like you got off the train from the city, was from Manhattan's right there. So you got off, and it was literally next to the train station. So all these.
So you met DJ Premier there.
No, I met Dave Lotwin there. He owned the studio. He's like, all right, I'm going to take you in. I want you to meet DJ Premier. And I'm like, okay, I had no idea who that was. Never listened to hip hop. Like I said, I had LL and Wyclef I had met at that point, and I didn't know that DJ Premier was, depending on who you ask, one of the two. He's never below two. He's either number one or number two of the best and biggest hip hop producers of all time, most influential, genius. And I just didn't know who he was. I thought I was the cool guy. So we're walking into the studio, which is like where Nas did Illmatic and Jay-Z did the Blueprint, Biggie did Life, Premier produced all that stuff, and they recorded it in that place. It was historic, and it became an apartment building, which is tragic. But I walk in, and Dave's like, yeah, this is Mike 13. So just to paint the picture, about a 45-year-old, stocky black dude, white t-shirt that's huge, and just a huge black DJ Premier on the front. I walk up to him, I pat him on the shoulder. I go, I didn't catch your name, pal. Like, just like that. He goes, me? Because I'm Premier. I'm in Premier studio. So I guess he liked that because I wasn't on his dick. I wasn't starstruck. He got a kick out of me because I was like shockingly Caucasian, but I don't know. But we hit it off also, and that began really a couple of different things. It began my working with some of the biggest artists on the planet, and actually developing relationships with them, and it began what I call hip hop school. I mean, really hip hop school, not just in the sense of learning about the art, but really learning about the cultural significance that it had. Coming from a musician's background, like a Dream Theater fan, a very, very nerdy, music theory guy. I was always like, what, where's the musical talent in that? There's so much music talent that goes into what Premier does and what hip hop involves in general, and the attachment to the community and what it really means to it's special. And Premier's era, the 90s, that boom bap stuff really was brought it to the forefront. Was like that early Jay-Z, Bob, all that stuff. So at that, I mean, you name it, Kanye, DJ Khaled, Nas, Joe Budden, Scarface, Chris Brown, doing shots with Skrilla, you name it. I got to go on tour playing live with Joe Budden, which was cool. Nas, playing in the studio. There's actually a funny picture on my Instagram with DJ Khaled when we did Kiss the Ring. I played on that, and then I also engineered Premier scratches. But that leads me to a great story about. May I? I'm rambling. Am I supposed to ramble?
Yeah, sure, ramble.
I just wanted to touch on.
Listen, I'm following the story. I mean,
all right, because I can ramble.
It just seems like, I mean, I mean, it basically seems like to me that LL Cool J really opened a lot of doors for you, or you're beginning work with him, and
first
from
Neil,
there,
then LL.
Okay, and right. So no, that's amazing. Let me ask you this, Mike. So you're known for your crazy guitar playing.
Yeah, guitar. What happens? I get I'm sorry. Did I cut off your? Did I?
No, I mean, you're
a shredder.
Well, that's what people say. It's funny because like Thank you. That's a compliment, but I don't know why my friends say that, and they mean it like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dream Theater. Like I was listening, covering, like learning. That's what I learned. Like when people were learning Back in Black, I had images and words just by luck. So I was learning that stuff at like 11 years old. So, it's kind of all gets easier from Dream Theater.
Like, who's your favorite guitar player?
Oh my God.
Give me three.
Oh, I can give you three. John Petrucci. John for certain reasons.
Okay.
See, God, man.
Give me
so
two
hard.
more.
Well, as far as just the rock stardom and what he contributes to the rock and roll, to a band, maybe not it's so much in the playing. I mean, you can never get cooler or better or more badass or have produced better music or have made better music than Slash. Slash is a fucking, and he's a blues guy. He's a Joe Perry type guy. He's not going to stand by and trade licks. It's a different kind of thing with Slash. Slash is rock and roll, but I love Steve Vai. He's a fellow Long Islander, as our Dream Theater, but they're not gonna write Appetite for Destruction. I mean, God, Guthrie Govins.
So to get to that playing, like, so when did you like practice? I mean, I'm sure when you picked up the guitar, it was fairly young, but so did it require a lot of practice, or were you one of those people that kind of just, you picked up the instrument and you're like, you felt at home with it? Of course you practiced, but it just kind of, you just went with it.
It was obviously you have to, I mean, I play guitar is definitely my top, but like piano, I grew up with a piano in the house. So that was actually, maybe I was even tinkering with that before, but
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Mike.
I can tell you what made me want to do it.
So, Mike, can you play me like a crazy riff? Like, I don't know, maybe you can make it sound like
plugged into anything, but I can.
Maybe like the mic will pick something up. If not, I'll let you know. If it doesn't sound right, we'll just knock it off.
I would have. Yeah, I can. I mean, I can. See if I give me one. I'm not wired up through. I'm not plugged into anything right now, so that might actually be a tall order.
And also, too, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to show Mike here. He just gave me a 15-second new introduction for the podcast and the interviews. And it sounds pretty amazing.
That's like custom made to your fine tastes.
So you played live. So obviously the drums on that introduction, those are all, the rest is samples, right? There's nothing.
I played everything on that.
Really?
Yeah, I play every instrument. That's what I was getting at when I was saying when people call me a shredder, I almost get offended, but it's a compliment. No, it's a V drum set, but I trigger sounds, MIDI sounds. It's a drum set, but it's not. Then I play the bass. Usually, what I do is I get my drums, then I'll do a scratch guitar track. Like I got the riff for your thing first, just to get the idea, and then to a click, and then I played the drums, and then I went back and recorded the rhythms, and then I'll go put bass because I find it easier to just squeeze bass in.
So you played all of that live.
Oh wow. Yeah. I'm gonna.
So let me explain this. So I asked Mike if he could.
Look up in the meantime,
I asked Mike if he could actually write me a 15-20-second intro for the podcast and interviews. And he goes, what kind of music do you like? And I'm just like, I want something with big guitars, drums, something anthemic. I mean, like an opening up of a football game, something like that. So this is what he came up with. And I mean, just, I had no idea, by the way. It's the first time I'm learning this, that he played everything live. Wow. He's like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, done, final, sold. He's like, I'll send you the stems.
That's kind of what I do that to. I do custom intros for people's shows.
Okay, we can barely hear you on here, Mike.
Oh,
You're
I'm sorry. I had to put the microphone
there. You
down.
go.
Okay. Yeah, I do custom intros to basically for podcasts. I'll work to any budget. TV shows, medium, YouTube channels, regular TV. I can, it's usually, that took about an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, I can. I could probably pull up the session and then play you each individual thing behind me.
That would be great. Yeah, let's hear some crazy. By the way,
sure.
Sure.
I have an SM57, so this is actually a good mic for this.
Sure.
I'll lay it down. track my drums. I trigger samples playing V drums. Then I do the bass. I have a Fender jazz bass over there. Then whatever the variation of instruments are, if it's more of a Southern rock, that was what I was going to say about what the shredding thing is. I cover like all genres, from country to flamenco. I compose classical pieces for movies, things like that. It's not just, if I had my choice, I would play for Ozzy, but Zakk Wylde already did it as good as it's going to get done, and Randy before him. So
who's that new session
guitar player that's kind of getting a lot of rave? He's played with Eddie Vedder. I think he's played with Justin Bieber.
He's a session guy, or
I think he's a session guy.
Or is he? I'm not sure about the number one session guy.
His name was
not really I'm a producer. I'm more so I go in and I'll play pianos. They bring me in more to like write.
Yeah, he's a guitar player. I think his name is
Mateus Asado. Oh,
Andrew.
There's a lot. It's right now. It's the golden age of guitar again. I know. When I think any session player, I think Tim Pierce right off the bat. Tim Pierce plays on everything.
He actually, I think he worked with Ozzy Osbourne on his last record. It was him. It was
guitar.
Yeah, guitar player.
Gus G was on Ozzy.
No, he played. He wrote. He produced. He like literally, got the whole band to play on Ozzy's last record.
What, really? Because I know that. I'm gonna actually look that up.
Yeah. He kind of like.
He played guitar on it.
Yeah, he played guitar on it.
Because I know Zakk Wylde, and now he has Gus G doing it.
No, look at Ozzy Osbourne's last record.
Okay. Last album.
Oh, here it is. Andrew Watt.
Oh, I didn't even know that, and yeah. Oh no, he's a producer. He was the producer.
Okay, but he also played guitar as well.
Did he?
Yeah, he's a guitar, vocals, bass guitar, keyboards, drums, percussion.
Oh, he did what I do.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Andrew Watt.
Oh no, this was like that was on a song. Okay, what this was a Slash. Okay, see what this was. This was like what Slash's first album was, where he brought in a bunch of different artists for every song, like Duff and Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, Duff McKagan from Guns played on another song, Slash played on one song. So that was his for that song. Andrew Watt did, he did vocals, guitars, vocals. You're with Ozzy. Vocals, guitars, yeah. So he did kind of like, this says programming, which leads me to believe that it was not a real drum set. He produced it. Yeah, this was because I know that when in his band, you never know where Ozzy is, like if he's, because
but if you look at Ozzy Osbourne's discography, and if you actually look at his record, he's on every song. Andrew,
he produced the album. He produced the album. Yeah. He's look down on the wiki, you'll see Slash. Yeah, this was like what Slash did, where Slash wrote a bunch of songs and brought in all those different singers before he found Miles Kennedy, who's like the best singer going right now.
I mean, I personally,
again, I'm talking out my ass, but I don't see. If you have Slash on there, yeah, he probably produced the album, because Ozzy's not producing.
No,
these days. He's. I actually saw him at that rock. This was a couple of years ago at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame backstage at the Garden, and I'm a fan. I've got Zach tattooed on my arm. And everyone was back there, and I had no problem going up and taking pictures with Tom Hanks. My Instagram was so cool before COVID, but Ozzy, who of all the people, Mick Jagger was there, Metallica was there. Ozzy was like the one guy, and he had this guy with him, like a younger guy, and Ozzy was just shuffling, man. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. It was very sad. This was a couple of years ago, so I guess he's all right. But put it this way, I didn't feel comfortable going up and saying something. And when you're backstage or something like that, you're allowed to, not that it was my friend at the time was being auditioned to play drums for Jeff Beck. So Jeff Beck brought us back there. So I was kind of the hanger on at that. It was that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 25th anniversary show. And I mean, it was a who's who back there, but I was like, man, Ozzy, I'll never get a chance. And I couldn't do it. It looked like if the guy let him go, he would have just shuffled into the fucking wall like Grand Theft Auto style. But yeah, that's so basically. I do. I would say the majority of what my work is more like that, more like well, a lot of replaying samples now, but I get a lot of calls for we need like a minute and 15 seconds of like a Lady Antebellum sounding country thing, or we need 45 seconds of something in the style of Chopin. You know, not that I'm composing like Chopin, but you know, just something that.
Now, can you play?
I'm one-stop shopping. Basically.
Now, can you play any genre?
Any genre. Well, I got to be careful with that because jazz is a tricky one. I cannot play jazz. I'll just say that. I'm not, because my friend Jay is going to watch this. I'm playing with this band Moonshine, who was a fucking awesome band when I was growing up, and we're toying around with me joining as like a full-time member. And Jay, if he ever heard me say I could play jazz.